thank you for joining me today. My name is Jenny Allen, and before we get started with today's video, please make sure that you are subscribed, that you thumbs up this video and you check the description box below. So thank you for staying on this journey with me. We're in Proverbs chapter 9 and Proverbs chapter 9, I have broken it down into two sections. So verses 1 to 12 talks of the way of wisdom, and verses 13 to 18 talks of the way of folly, the ways of someone who does not walk in the way of wisdom, someone who does not apply wisdom to their life. They will end up in folly. They'll end up making mistakes. They'll end up, in areas or in things that they wish that they hadn't gotten into if they'd listened. I'm sure we've all been there. I've made mistakes because I've not listened, and I'm sure that you have as well. So that's why it's important that we train ourselves and we prepare ourselves to walk in the way of wisdom, because wisdom is always prepared. And if we look at Proverbs chapter 9, verses 1 going down, let me just make that bigger for you. If we just have a look at that, you can see that wisdom has built her house. Wisdom builds. Wisdom always builds upward. Wisdom always empowers. Wisdom builds. So it says, wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. In biblical days, the houses there, they had pillars. And when you have pillars, it symbolizes stability. It symbolizes strength. It symbolizes, sturdiness. So wisdom has hewn out her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her meat. She has mixed her wine. She has also furnished her table. There's preparation there. She has sent out her maiden. She cries out from the highest places of the city. Wisdom is prepared. Wisdom builds. And as you can see here, wisdom has prepared her house just like a woman would. Just like a woman would. She's prepared her food. She's prepared the furniture in her house. She's prepared her household. Okay. Verse 4, whoever is simple, let him turn in here. As for him who lacks understanding, she says to him, come, eat of my bread and drink of my wine I have mixed. Forsake foolishness and live, and go in the way of understanding. Forsake foolishness and live, because when we continue in the path of foolishness, it can bring death to certain areas of our lives, because we continue to walk in the way of foolishness. It can bring death to our finances if we're foolish with our money. It can bring death to our relationships because we don't think before we speak. We don't consider the person that we're in relationship with. So it can bring death to relationships. It can bring death to opportunities. Forsake foolishness and live. So, if we have a business and we're not smart, or we don't apply wisdom to our business endeavors, our businesses will suffer. We need wisdom in every area of our life, and we have to get the building blocks of wisdom and we have to appropriate them to our life. Just as it says here that wisdom builds, wisdom has prepared her home, so we have to build. So we have to prepare our home. We have to prepare our life. We have to prepare our soul. We have to prepare ourselves because of the world that we live in. We can't afford to live in, today, in 2021 and not be prepared financially, especially now that we are still in the midst of a pandemic. We have to live a prepared life. The Bible talks about being in a prepared place. We have to make sure that we're prepared by having wisdom. I think it was in chapter 6 or chapter 7, it was talking about wisdom being our sister, wisdom being our kinsman. We have to make sure that we have a relationship with wisdom in order to build. And then in verse 13 to 18, it talks of the way of folly. If you don't follow wisdom, if you don't build with wisdom, if you don't walk in the way of wisdom, your life can collapse. Because if you're not building with wisdom, if somebody who's building a property or building a home and they don't use wisdom to build the foundation or set the foundation correctly, it can get you into trouble. So wisdom builds. And verse 13 to 18 talks of a woman who is clamorous, she is simple and knows nothing, for she sits at the door of her house. Okay, and she sits at the doors of her house on a seat by the highest places of the city, to call to those who pass by, who go straight on their way. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. And as for him who lacks, who lacks understanding, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. These are the ways of the foolish person. So in rounding up on Proverbs chapter 9, it's important for us to examine, do we have ways that are silly in our own lives? Do we have ways that are not pleasing? Do we have ways in our life that is not going to help us live a good life? Then we need to deal with them. We need to embrace wisdom, and we need to use that wisdom to deal with in the Bible it calls it folly. Another word for folly is another meaning of the word folly is lack of good sense, foolishness, lack of good sense. We cannot afford not to have good sense in the world that we live in today. So let's embrace the wisdom of the word of God, and let's become related to it. Let's become intimate with it, so that we don't live our lives with a lack of good sense. Okay, so I hope that you've gained something from today's study of Romans chapter 9, our mini Bible study. I hope you've gained something from today's study of Romans. I hope you've gained something from today's study in Proverbs chapter 9. Please make sure that you leave me a comment below, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Okay, don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. God bless you.